What's up, everybody? Okay, so earlier today, and I believe it was CBS reported this earlier today, that the Board of Regents at the University of Oklahoma are not exactly on the same page with their president, David Boren, in the matter of expanding the conference, the Big 12, and specifically OU's part and their stance on that. Max Whitenhofer, I'm not too familiar with that name, a bigwig on the Board of Regents, claimed earlier today that himself and that a few other regents were not for expanding the Big 12, and they basically, what I read in it was they basically wanted to just cut everything and just let OU go off into some other conference. That's what I read in the original article. And then, of course, a few hours later, the article was updated with quotes from Whitenhofer and David Boren, and they claim their solidarity on the topic. And I'm sure, knowing OU and knowing David Boren, that was a complete PR move. Boren is a politician. The last thing you want is to have a public image of non-solidarity. You want to make sure that your leadership is working towards the same common goal and not working for other goals. So I'm not going to deny that perhaps the Board of Regents at OU and the leadership, they're not all on the same page. I actually kind of think it is, and I have one source that I trust that has told me over the last 6 months that there are some that want out, there are some that want to try and keep the Big 12 in, and there are some that are just realistic and they understand that, well, Texas isn't going to let off on the Longhorn Network, so OU needs to do something about that, whether that's jump ship out of the conference or try to force their hand a little bit more against Texas. I don't know for sure. What I found interesting was in the original article claiming that there were some Board of Regents that were not on board with Boren's stance. I found it interesting that Clay Bennett, he's an OU alum and he is the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I found it interesting that he was one of the people mentioned that wasn't on board with David Boren's stance of expanding or keeping the Big 12 alive. And I say that because he owns the Oklahoma City Thunder, and a good, healthy portion of his fan base are Oklahoma State fans. And what you're basically saying is, if these stances are true, what you're basically saying is that I don't care about OSU, I don't care about what they bring to the table, they're not helping Oklahoma, we need to leave. So I thought that was interesting that Clay Bennett is on that side. I would assume that he was more on the David Boren, let's err on the side of caution and just try and be optimistic about this. But anyway, no, I'm not an athlete. I used to be a long time. Well, not really. But yeah, it was interesting because OU is really, really good about keeping a pristine image, and I mean it's kind of funny because you had the SAE racist chant video last offseason come out. You've had players with their run-ins with the law, whether it be Joe Mixon or other athletes, and it seems like they always come out on top in the public eye. I mean, of course, there are going to be a bunch of people that think that Joe Mixon shouldn't be playing, or they think that there's the SAE incident is not isolated. I mean, there's always going to be naysayers, but in terms of keeping a public image pristine, David Boren is great at that. And again, he is a politician, and that's what they're bred to do, is to make sure that their image is not tarnished. And since Boren has been the bigwig at OU, that's been kind of the case. Adding a strong football coach in Bob Stoops in 1999 has only helped improve that image from the gunslinging days of the 80s and the 70s with Barry Switzer. But anyway, it's interesting, again, just considering OU's public persona, having gone there, understanding the fan base, understanding how it works. It is really interesting to see that maybe there is some untrustworthy behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like anything's going to happen. If something was going to happen, it would have happened 3 or 4 years ago concerning OU. I did read another article that I guess back when all this went down in 2010, 2011, that OU was 30 minutes away from joining the Pac-12. I don't know how I feel about that, but I can certainly see how that was the case. Personally, I'm not really big with David Boren. He's great for OU as an institution. He's great for OU as if you're talking about improving academics, if you're talking about improving the program, not just athletically. There are a lot of reasons to enjoy his leadership. There are a lot of reasons to appreciate his leadership. I just feel like he actually helped cause all these problems, when this all kind of initially went down. And I'm not going to blame anybody for not having the foresight that X, Y, and Z was going to happen. But if you're going to wield that much power, and at the end of the day you don't do anything about it, going back in 2010, 2011, and at the end of the day you don't do anything about it, I'm sorry, I have to question what exactly your interests are for. Are you for Oklahoma? Are you for the Big 12? Are you for the preservation of the conference as is? Or are you for the expansion of the conference? And that to me is what always keeps me at bay with being completely on board with David Boren. But again, that's just me. I don't necessarily know how other presidents at other universities handle their business. I don't know if every other leader at a university is a former politician. But, I mean, if you guys have a better understanding of your respective universities, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But that's just kind of my deal with this whole situation. It seems like there's going to be more news dropping in the next few days. So if anything else, I guess, big or more concrete comes out, I'll definitely jump back on here and we can talk about it some more. But other than that, did anybody else have any questions or anything they'd like to add on this? Go ahead. Now's the time. Otherwise, we'll just get right into the Big 12 expansion as a whole. But anyway, hopefully everybody's enjoying their Stars games, their NBA playoffs. I actually had a Dragic just got hit in the face with the ball. He kind of walks around. His face looks like he's got hit with a basketball a time or two. Just kind of the way he looks. He's a good player. I just can't stand him sometimes. But everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining, everybody. Appreciate it. Yes, don't forget to hit the share button, like. It helps us grow. It helps more interaction with different people, and that's what we're all about. We want more opinions. I don't want to just sit here and talk about what I think, because I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't have all the answers, so I kind of want to learn with you as well. Where do you hit the share button? Actually, again, I actually don't know. I've never actually hit the share button. Someone else knows, don't be afraid to share. But I guess other than that, conference expansion is still... Oh, thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that. Other than that, conference expansion is still a major topic. Thank you for the love. It's still a major topic for discussion. It seems like every few days people jump from one bandwagon to another, whether it's destroy the conference. 2 days later, it's let's add UConn and Cincinnati. 2 days later, it's OU wants to jump ship, actually, despite what their public persona says. So it seems like, 2 days later, it's going to be OU should add, or OU, the Big 12 should add Pittsburgh and UCF. I don't know. It's just kind of the way it's going. Just people are just kind of throwing crap on the wall to see what sticks, I guess. But I actually saw something interesting today, and it won't happen. I don't think it'll necessarily be. I don't think it would be good for the conference. Hit the people icon and scroll down a bit to share, I guess, is how you do it. But I saw an article, and it basically said the Big 12 shouldn't add 2 teams. They should add 4 or 6 teams, and basically add every school that people discuss in terms of expansion. So that means Boise State, BYU, UConn, Cincinnati, UCF, USF. The reason why I like it is because it's very proactive. In Houston. It's very proactive. It's an off-the-wall idea, because it seems like if anything's going to happen, the Big 12 is just going to do one of the 2 things. They're either going to stay at 10 and continue to go down this downward spiral into God knows where, or they'll do the thing that everyone's expecting them to do, and that's add a school like Cincinnati, add a school like UConn, add a school like Memphis. Just the expected, I guess, turn. I like the idea of 14. If you're going to dilute, do it big. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's a big move. It's a headline-shaking move, and it will definitely, if you add all these teams, it'll put the Big 12 all across the country, and it'll just be kind of a, I guess, dilution by numbers game. And again, it's just interesting. I don't think it would work. It would piss off West Virginia more, because they'd have to have a conference game in Boise, Idaho, or Provo, Utah. Schools like Texas would have to go to BYU one week, West Virginia the next, UConn the next. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Big 12 expanding and OU's leadership infighting. So if that's your topic, be sure to comment and join in and have fun. If not, sorry. But anyway, I read it, and it caught my eye. It was just something different. Memphis, Cincinnati, BYU, Colorado State. Colorado State. Just Colorado is not a football state at all. They're worried about other things. But Colorado State, BYU, Cincinnati, Boise State, UCF, USF, Memphis, BYU travel partner. Yeah, I don't know. There are so many opportunities for this conference, but they're not being proactive, and that's why that article and that idea kind of jumped out at me. Was that it was proactive and it was an off-the-wall idea. And although I don't think it would necessarily remove the stigma of the Big 12 being a lesser conference than the Power 5, it would certainly, it would add a conference championship game, so there wouldn't be that excuse anymore. And you'd still have teams like Oklahoma in the conference, you'd still have teams like Texas in the conference to kind of give it the stamp of approval across the country. And especially if OU and Texas are both really, really good, and they'll have to play each other as well as their conference opponents, it'd be hard to keep the Big 12 out of any playoff discussion, despite people saying, well, they also have to play Memphis, or they also have to play UCF. Well, who cares? I mean, Florida and Alabama, they have to play Vanderbilt every year. I mean, you're going to play a bad team. It really shouldn't be held against you. The only time it should be held against you is when you're going up, is when you're at the top of the rankings and you are forced to compare an undefeated team with another undefeated team, and then you look at their schedule. Beforehand, it shouldn't be held against anybody, because that's what the game has been. This is the game now. The Big 12's kind of been the last to be real, I guess. Again, I hate saying this word 1,000 times, but proactive on the matter. But the game isn't over, and they shouldn't just quit just because, well, we should have got Louisville, or no, we could have had Florida State for some reason. You know, they shouldn't just quit because at the end of the day, I want to keep the Big 12 together. I love playing the Texas as an OU fan. I love playing the Texas schools. I love playing OSU every year. I love playing the old Big 8 schools, and I really, really, really love playing Miami and Toronto going to overtime. That series is trash. I really love playing West Virginia. I've always had great respect for their program, and I always kind of wanted them in the Big 12. It doesn't necessarily work right now just because of the travel, but I want to keep the conference together. And I said this earlier on Twitter, but the OU fan comes out in me saying, while I want the Big 12 to stay together and be strong like it used to be, I don't want all the work that OU put in for the last 60 to 70 years to go out the window just because they want to feel nostalgic and stick to a conference that is dying. The second the OU brand is tarnished, it's not good. And the second anyone's brand is tarnished, it's hard to regain. It's hard to regain that benefit of the doubt. And again, OU has had the benefit of the doubt 100 times, whether it was back in the BCS, whether it was back in the poll days, whether it was back even this past season, how they got into the playoff when there were a few other teams like Notre Dame or Ohio State that had a similar argument to get in. But and that takes decades of success to gain that reputation. But anyway, it's just I want the Big 12 to stay together, but we'll see. The way it's going right now, if a school like OU if their leadership is just disagreeing and not on the same page, God knows what the other schools are going to be like. I mean, we all know what Texas's interests are in, and I guess TCU and Tech have been connected to basically wanting to do what the University of Texas is wanting to do, and I don't blame them. That's smart. But we'll see. But if anyone else had any comments or questions, feel free. Now is the time. But again, like I've said before, Memphis and Cincinnati would be great. And that's just my opinion. It would make sense geographically. It could improve some recruiting. Could help with adding some more markets, some more interesting markets, fun travel destinations. Get this off of here. I'm trying to look for that article about adding the 14 teams. I just saw it on Twitter and I should have saved it. Anyway. Cincinnati would be cool. There we go. Thank you. Okay, thank you, SB Nation. That's what I thought. Yeah, it seems like a fun travel spot. Personally, I've never been to that part of the country, but they do have a strong football and sports culture up there. There it is. Memphis during the day. Let's see. I guess I'll just talk about this article and we'll call it a night. My throat is killing me. Okay, let's see. Who have they added? Why would Tech and TCU be smart in following Texas? Because they kind of have to. if they were to just, I guess, kind of trumpet their own flag and say, we're going to do what we want and try to, I guess, depend on another power conference adding them, their chances of that happening are pretty slim. And again, I'm not close to any of those situations. This is just kind of an outsider looking in. But I remember when this all went down originally, the Pac-12 wanted OU Texas, and they settled by inviting Texas A&M and Texas Tech. Tech needs Texas to drag them anywhere, and TCU is indebted to Texas for getting in. That's true. But anyway, going back to a few years ago, the Pac-12 settled with the power schools in the Big 12 to add Tech, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma State as kind of a to help them with travel and to also kind of a appeasement, I guess. Tech, TCU, they have proud programs, of course. They have really solid programs. But at the end of the day, they're not the money makers that Texas and OU are. OU isn't even the money maker that Texas is. So I'll admit that. But Tech and TCU, those schools, Baylor even, they need to have a strong ally in one of those two. And it's going to be Texas just because of the obvious state affiliation. Yes, I'm all about getting on UT's ship into the Pac-12. It would have been interesting. The Pac-12, out of all the scenarios, is the most interesting just because I have no idea how that would work. I would have a better idea of how schools from the Big 12 would work in the SEC or in the Big 10. I would have a better idea of how that would actually flesh out. The Pac-12 would be complete, I have no idea. But anyway, going back to this article, let's see, they have a North division of Iowa State, Kansas State, Navy, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. And then a South division of Baylor, Houston, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas, and Texas Tech. Wow. That's interesting. And then they have, let's see, they're 2 North and 2 South? Just 30 minutes away from joining the Pac-12. Believable. OSU and OU were 30 minutes away from joining the Pac-12. It seemed, yeah, because I remember following ESPN that day, and I was just, everybody on SportsCenter was saying this is about to happen, so I was just waiting for the red breaking news scroll at the bottom to say OU, Texas, and blah, blah, blah have joined the Pac-12. So needless to say, when an hour or two passed and nothing happened, I was pretty surprised, and I'm sure a lot of other people were surprised. At the end of the day, I live with it. Because again, I want this conference to stay together. It just makes sense geographically, logistically, historically, traditionally, whatever you want to call it. And now I enjoy all these rivalries, these histories with these with other programs. And we've already seen with Nebraska going to the Big Ten, you've lost the OU-Nebraska rivalry. And with Texas A&M going to Texas, you've lost the Lone Star Showdown. And that's not good for college football. No matter what money says, I mean, it may be better for money, so the big wigs might get more coin in their pocket. But at the end of the day, college rivalries in college football are what make it what it is, what make it the most popular sport in the country. Rivalries and passionate fan bases. Can we start using the word shootout again? You can call it whatever you want. I usually call it the Red River Shootout. What else? That's really down south, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Similar second tier, then wait a few years as the Big 12 and catches up a bit. Again, go ahead and if you haven't read it, just go to sbnation.com. And it's on the front page. It says, forget adding 2 teams. The Big 12 should add 14. Just go ahead. It's a proactive choice. It would be something that the other conferences are not doing. Why is 30 minutes to leaving news today? It was background fodder on CBS article. We've known that. I don't know. It's the off season. When I first saw it, that was my initial reaction. Was I actually thought someone retweeted an article from a few years ago when I saw it on my Twitter timeline, but I read it with hoping that there would be more information, more concrete information, or a quote. But of course, there was nothing there except for, well, this may have happened, blah blah blah. It's the off season, so people got to get clicks. They told him as ways he could. But anyway, yeah, everyone give SB Nation a look and check out that article. It's really interesting, and it's certainly much more interesting than the token, we should add Cincinnati, or we should add UCF, and here is why. But anyway, guess we can call that it for the night. Anybody else has any questions or comments, go ahead and feel free to ask. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Excuse me. Oh no, I'm not going to be doing that tonight. As soon as I shut this down and do some writing, I'm hitting the sheets. It's been a long day. But in the meantime, again, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. And thank you everybody for sharing. I noticed a bunch of people shared it, and Boomer Sooner. If you like the idea of adding Pitt, we may have some bad news tomorrow. What would that be? I haven't really seen anything on Pittsburgh. I don't see Pittsburgh wanting to leave their conference. Yes, thank you all for watching. I don't even think you could appeal to their emotions by saying, well, don't you want to play West Virginia again? Get the backyard brawl going. But anyway. Had a bunch of people start sharing, so again, thank you everybody. I appreciate that. Did a Q&A with Cardiac Hill? Did a Q&A with Cardiac Hill? Very interested. Is that going to drop tomorrow? Awesome. So everybody have an eye out for that on the Land Grant Gauntlet for tomorrow. My dog is in the other room. But anyway, well, I guess we'll call it a night. Everybody, thank you again for joining in. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for sharing and commenting during the show. Yeah, I screwed up. I didn't get water. I kind of looked at the clock at the last second, noticed it was almost 9:15. I was trying to catch up on Game of Thrones. I'm on season 3, which is kind of sad because I know Jon Snow dies and then that he comes back. So thank you, Twitter. But yeah, so no water tonight. I like the show. I didn't want to like it at first because I try not to jump on bandwagons. Yeah, just probably water. Okay, well, again, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you everybody for sharing. Hopefully, we get some more juicy news in the next few days with some more concrete evidence. And we will, of course, keep you posted on the Land Grant Gauntlet. And you had internet problems, Patrick? Sorry about that. Well, it's going to be, I'll put it back on. I won't. Chris will put this on either tonight or tomorrow, so you can catch it on there. But I'm sure we'll have our own little Twitter conversations either tonight or tomorrow about the whole topic anyway, so don't worry. And also, don't forget to follow the Land Grant Gauntlet on Twitter. And also, if you'd like, follow me on Twitter at Brady Does Sports. And we can have all these conversations into the wee hours of the morning to the night. I don't care. I'm always down to talk football. But anyway, everybody, have a great night. Thank you for joining.